One of the questions I get asked the most this time of year particularly, and I got some asked today, what day did Jesus die? How do we get the 3 days and the 3 nights? Turn with me, please, to the book of Amos, chapter 8. Amos gives a double prophecy, what we call a double prophecy. This prophecy has a future meaning for the end of the world, but it was partially fulfilled in Jesus' first coming. Look at verse 9 of Amos 8. It will come about, and that day, declares the Lord, that I shall make the sun go down at noon, and make the earth dark in broad daylight. When Jesus died on the cross, the Gospels record it became dark. This could not have been an eclipse. Because it was Passover, it was therefore of necessity the opposite phase of the 28-day lunar cycle. Okay? The Jews followed a lunar calendar. They related this to everything, for ritual purposes, for menstrual purity. They related it to everything, for agriculture, everything. This 28-day month. And an eclipse, a lunar eclipse, it would have had to be the opposite time of the month as Passover. Couldn't possibly be an eclipse. Solar eclipse or lunar eclipse. Behold, days are coming, declares the Lord. And it will happen that I will make the sun go down at noon. For ritual purposes, to this day, observant Jews do not count the day as 24 hours. They count the day based on the creation narrative in Genesis, or lehoshek, light to dark. If there's 1 hour of daylight, it's a day. If there's 10 hours of daylight, it's a day. 3 times in the Bible, 3 times, God interferes with time. We've pointed out before on other tapes that time is always calculated on the basis of planetary motion. There is in fact one kind of clock, an atomic clock, that works by particle emission, not by planetary motion, but it still has to be calibrated in nanoseconds. You still have to measure it by planetary motion because it's the only way to measure it. Time depends on planetary motion. 3 times God interferes with time. One time is in the story of Joshua. That day was not 24 hours. Next time, Revelation chapter 16. The day goes from 24 hours down to 16. It's cut by a third. 16-hour day, not a 24-hour day. Okay. But in between Genesis and Revelation, we have the death of Jesus. Something happens when it gets dark. And so the Hebrews had a situation now where it got dark. They count the day, or lehoshek, light to dark. So if Jesus hangs on a cross and dies at noon on a Friday, and the sun goes down, that's a day. He's off the cross, sun is shining, he's in the grave, sun goes down, that's 2 days. Jews observe the Sabbath from sundown to sundown. My son's observant. He's a believer in Jesus, but he's observant. Doesn't like to put lights on or anything even. From Saturday night to Sunday night. Okay. You fast from sundown to sundown. So it gets dark at noon, gets dark Saturday night. You get 2 nights and 2 days. Okay? Friday night, Saturday night, and then he gets up on Sunday. So sundown on Friday afternoon, at noon, sundown Friday night, sundown Saturday night. There's your 3 nights. Friday, Friday afternoon to Saturday to Sunday morning, you've got your 3 days and 3 nights as Jews would count time. No problem. Jews count time that way to this very day. I've heard people speculate, well, it had to be a Wednesday, it had to be a Thursday, how are you going to get the 3 and 3? They are reading a Jewish book with a Hellenistic mind. They're reading Hebrew literature as if it were Western literature. You have to read it in its context, in its Sitzimleben, in its life situation.